Thanks for tuning in and welcome to Lunar Echoes, the show about My Little Pony fandom. And I'm your host, at least one of the hosts, Clockwork. And here with me is...
Lazy Chords.
And we're going to be talking about...
MLP analysis, critics, and reviews. So, how are you doing today, Clockwork?
I'm great. How about yourself?
Doing well.
I'd like to make a public shout out to two very important people in my life. Robin Hetzel, for her awesomeness. And I'd actually like to make a special announcement, if he ever hears it, to Brony Curious, a.k.a. Tommy Oliver, for inspiring me to do this. Anything you'd like to shout out?
Just shout out to all the BNet people out there. I hope you guys are listening to this, and thank you guys for supporting me and all the MLP fans out there.
Great. Well, since this is our inaugural podcast, and I'm nervous as all get out, how about you tell the folks out there and all the ponies what we're going to be talking about on this show in the future?
Well, we're going to be talking about certain parts of the MLP, like certain episodes we're going to critique and analyze and reviews, like certain other analysis people have done, and like look into the character development and all that. And maybe sometimes we'll go into fanfics or music, or we can go into like other subjects too.
Speaking of music, aren't you working on some?
Yes, it's kind of on the back shelf right now because I have to go. I have school coming up and everything, so...
Well, you know what? Maybe it's a great idea to tell everyone out there what we're doing. About ourselves, actually.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Do you mind if I go first?
Please, be my guest.
Alright, I'm a 20-year-old college student heading off to college in next week and going for my secondary ed major. I'm going to be teaching math and science to middle schoolers, which is going to be a lot of fun and awesome. A lot of my interests and hobbies are like writing music, singing, but also looking through like shows and like thinking them through and like looking into the character development and all that stuff. And just loving to have a good time and also do vectors along the side. What about you, Clockwork?
Well, I'm a 31-year-old professional technical support agent. I work in a local company nearby. I'm trying to go back to college. I haven't had too much luck in that yet, but I'm still working towards it. I also, on the side, do some writing. Currently writing a novel, some fan fiction for MLP. And I'm also kind of working on a collaboration work, but that's kind of top secret right now. Hey, speaking of projects, weren't you working on some recently?
Trying to think of any projects, but I don't think of any recently. Just working on like certain like roles of how am I going to teach students and learning how to practice my teaching skills and what the role I'm going to fill.
Oh, this will certainly give us plenty of practice to talk to people.
Yep.
So, why don't we actually talk about our hobbies and stuff? Mind if I go first on that?
Sure.
Well, like I said, I've done way too much in my lifetime. One of my major hobbies, aside from writing, is I actually do a lot of critiquing of other people's writing. I do it sort of as a side hobby along with photography. A lot of people, including two famous authors, one of them who's allowed me to say her name on the air, Hannah Elizabeth Gordon, who recently published The Voo, and another one who I'm not allowed to mention without copyright laws intact. So they both just recently published, and they're very, very, very awesome books. Aside from that, I'm also into video gaming. I play some sports, not very many. I'm not really into like athletic sports. I'm more into skating, occasionally, bike riding, mountain biking, hiking. I like to camp. I occasionally have done paintball, but I'm not a very good shot. And, of course, I have video games. Well, I've played Minecraft, World of Warcraft, the Legends of Equestria beta test and alpha test before that. I've done Mega Man, Sailor Moon, you name it, I've probably played it at one time or another. My favorite games out there are usually action, adventure, and role play. Lately, I've actually gotten into first-person shooters, though they're kind of poor on my system, so I stick to Minecraft. Other things that I do, like writing, like I said, I do a lot of critique work, actually. I was critiquing some fan fiction, but I kind of got bored of it and decided to write my own. Speaking of fan fiction, I would like to make a little selfie out here for everyone. I am working on one. It's called Temporal Cogs. It's about my OC, also, Clockwork! Yay. I need some help. So a little shout out there. How about you? What are your hobbies and interests?
Some of my hobbies and interests are writing music, love hanging out with people and getting to know people a lot. Like anime, I love it so much, and I love skiing a lot. And hopefully I'm going to be joining the skiing ride club this year again, because last year my back was out for the season. And I love to just walk around sometimes, just clear my head. Also, I love doing drawings and vectors. But I'm still practicing at that and trying to practice animations also, which hopefully we'll work on soon. But trying to think of anything else here. That's pretty much it.
Well, don't you do paintball?
Paintball, yes. I'm doing paintball, and also I've been offered a job at one of the camps around here to lead paintball every once in a while on the weekends if a retreat group wants to play, which will be awesome. A lot of fun. Get paid to plaster kids. Wait till exam week. That'll be fun. Stress relief.
I can see that. Speaking of games altogether, I'd also like board games. Don't you like board games?
Yeah, I like board games sometimes. But I love the card game Bang, and usually my favorite board game is Life.
I like Arkham Horror because it's kind of complex and requires an actual social group to do. And Ticket to Ride because that's kind of a quick game to play, but it's hard to master. Card games, I think the only thing I've ever honestly played, aside from a game called Gloom, was another game where you basically set cards down that said different things, trying to make a strange sentence. Anyway, back to My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic. How about you, tell us how you got into the fandom.
I got into fandom actually probably around a year from now. It happened in July, which I had my horse-iversary, as one of my friends likes to call it. And, it first began like one of my friends talking about like the show MLP, and also you got guys invading my forums and website, such as in It's Go Meet the Bronies. And so I'm like, okay, might as well give this show a shot, even though I might not like it. Maybe I have a chance to make fun of these guys, and if they ask me if I actually watch the show, I watch the show. So I was working night shift at the time, so I get bored easily because on Saturdays, all my friends would be asleep when I had off work. So I'm like, okay, might as well watch it now. One episode turned to 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, then the whole half of season 1 that one night. I fell in love with the show. I love animation, so I fell in love with that. Always a Tara Strong fan, so I fell in love with that also. And so I've been a Brony ever since, and I joined up the social networking site BronyNet, which is a great place if you want to go check it out, run by Jacob Pritchett. Oh, it's www.bronynet.com. It's easy to find, easy to use social networking site. Yes, it's a shameful output out there, but it's actually a really great site. And you'll meet a lot of great bronies, which I met a lot of them during BronyCon this year, face to face. I had a lot of group of friends to meet out there. Sure, we have our own ups and downs in the whole social networking site sometimes, but that's the fandom. So, how about your story about becoming a brony, Clockwork?
Well, mine's probably about the same as yours, except for a little different. I'm a recent brony, as of May 2013, early June 2013. What happened was a friend of mine posted something on Google+, a picture of Twilight Sparkle doing a meme about something that I didn't understand at the time, but it was the one about her versing the library. You know that meme, don't you?
I think I do. I think I remember seeing that when they invaded the cheeseburger.
Yes. Well, that's kind of actually where it came from. So a friend of mine posted it, and I'm like, what's this? And he kind of texted me back on the messaging system and told me, oh, it's My Little Pony. And I'm like, they don't look like hippos. He's like, oh, no, it's new. It has Tara Strong. Raven from Teen Titans. I'm like, oh, my God, Tara Strong. Oh, my God, I have to watch. And then someone else told me that Tabitha St. Germain, who did a lot of voice acting in different animes, was on it. And then I found out Ashley Paul was on, and Nicole Oliver was on, and then Paul Newman was on. And I'm like, okay, this has to be a good show. You don't have this many good voice actors in the same spot. So I found a place online to watch it, because I don't have the hub at the time. I mean, I have it now, because I bought it, but that's beside the point. But I didn't have it at the time, so I went online, and I found a place to download the episodes. And I watched them, and I before I knew it, first episode, second episode, third episode, I had to know what happened, the fourth, fifth, sixth. Next thing I know, I'm starting to sing Winter Wrap Up, and it's already like 10 p.m. at night, and I've been watching episodes since like 10 a.m. that morning. So I had to take a break, but basically from Saturday to Tuesday, I watched all 3 seasons. And I kind of got sold on it and became a brony literally overnight. And then I just started looking for My Little Pony wallpaper and found the DeviantArt page, found Flufflepuff, found out there was a show fandom called Dusk's Dawn, watched it, watched Snowdrop, watched Double Rainbow. And before you know it, I was kind of half listening to Fallout Equestria while just not getting enough pony. So while I'm a recent brony, I have definitely dived headfirst.
He is very submerged. I think sometimes more submerged than I am. But I'm going into the musical part usually, so I listen to a lot of the brony musicians, like the popular ones, like Black Griffin, all those other guys, which they're awesome. I got to meet at BronyCon.
Speaking of BronyCon, didn't you want to tell us about that a little bit?
Yes.
Your experience and who you knew?
Well, BronyCon, it was a great experience. I got to talk to AC Racer, a lot of the Bronies React guys, and the rare chance. But also meeting up the guys from BNet was a highlight of it too, because I never really got to see them face to face. One person came from London all the way to BronyCon, which I thought was really impressive, and it was awesome to see him. So like we had this big crowd. I'm like, oh my gosh. And that was a lot of fun. Went to a lot of panels. Got to see the analysis panel of Brony Curious from DigiBrony. And got to buy some merchandise like a Big Mac plushie, which I'm holding right now, but you guys can't see that. Which is awesome and cute. It's a chibi plushie. But it was a lot of fun meeting other Bronies. Got to hang out with them, talk to them. And usually I don't get a lot of Brony hangout time since I think Lancaster County Bronies are a rarity.
Hey, I see what you did there.
Yep, thanks.
Took me a second. So, yeah, I didn't get to go to BronyCon. I was going to, but I kind of had responsibilities at home, mainly dog sitting, so I couldn't go. But you know what? I met Lazy Chords recently, and yeah, it's kind of a nice friend thing to have, because I don't have a lot of them. Anyway, didn't you... Oh, yeah! We were going to talk about our OCs. To explain them, because, you know, there'll be pictures eventually, but why don't you go first? Because, yeah...
Alright, my OC is named Lazy Chords. He's an Earth Pony, he's hardworking, honest, usually when Earth Pony is, but he slacks off a lot of times too, hence the lazy part of his name. He has tannish fur and black hair, blue eyes, and he loves just music. He plays his guitar to make other people happy and tries to make others happy. He's kind of like the Pinkie Pie a little bit mix. Backstory, I'm still developing that, but he lives in Appaloosa, which sometimes you get the joke. Some jokes on BNet are there about Brayburn. And he works at the local apple orchard for the apples in his spare time when he's not goofing off and playing music at the local Salt Lake. That's pretty much Lazy Chord so far. I mean, I will probably add more onto his character once I get around to it, but I want to know about Clockwork's character. Backstory.
Well, Clockwork is a unicorn. He's got green-colored hair. His mane is Han purple and indigo-colored. He's a hard worker. He's kind of obsessive about timekeeping, and he actually studied a little bit of time magic. His backstory, depending on whether he's in my fanfiction or not at the moment, the basic backstory is that he actually lives in Philadelphia, and he does work for various people there, like expediting their services or just scheduling things. He sort of has that Twilight obsessive-compulsive, has to schedule everything to make it work right. So when it doesn't work right, he may fall to pieces sometimes. He actually has another character that's related to him, but I haven't fleshed that character out. But they're also a unicorn, and their name is Grinder, and they're sort of like a half-cousin. So that's pretty much it. His backstory is basically he grew up outside of Philadelphia, moved into the city, got a job with one of the magic guilds, and occasionally, besides helping one or two other ponies out, he works for the railroad.
Awesome. That sounds great. Maybe a good friend for Lazy Chords have, since he can't manage time very well.
Hey, you know, there is that fanfiction that I keep harking on like a bad vocal actor.
Yep.
Speaking of vocal actors, didn't you have an interesting story about that? Because I know I sure have one.
Voice acting, I did try to go out for Button Mash, but that didn't work out when I figured I could not do the kid voice at all, which I have like a lower medium range, but somehow I can never reach a high-pitched kid tone.
I'm Button Mash.
Like that?
Yes, I can never do that. I'll be like, I'm Button Mash.
I'm Button Mash, and this is my story.
We live in Ponyville with my mom, my dad, and my big brother. I don't have a cutie mark yet, but I don't care about that.
Well, Button's mom has got it going.
Sorry, I had to.
Hey, this is open for all the ponies, and they'll all get that reference, hopefully.
Hopefully.
If you have not seen Button Mash, watch it.
Watch it. It is the most awesome. But you know another animation they should watch?
What?
Children of the Night.
That is a really good animation. Maybe one time we could do like a review of that.
on it, yeah.
And also Button Mash. We're already generating ideas.
And you know what? Maybe we can have the people that animated those on the line. Silly Philly, Jan Animations.
Cross your fingers. Or cross your hooves together.
Well, I think we're getting to the first break. So we're going to take a few minutes. Pardon the pause. We kind of just started. So anyway...
Mom has got it going on. Button's mom.
Well, I'd like to first thank a big thanks to BronyNet. BronyNet, the place where other bronies can meet each other. Like Facebook, only better. Brolove!
Got it going on. Button's mom has got it going on. Buttons Mom has got it going on.
And we're back from our break, and we've come up with some interesting talking points today. We'd like to first discuss some of the current things coming out as merchandise. Well, we'll start with what I read. First, there's the Japanese merchandise that's going anywhere between 70 and 350 yen a pop, which are the small buttons and the minifigures. And then for 700 to 2,000 yen, you can buy yourself everything from a Fluttershy wig to up to 12 different t-shirts from neoktak.com. If you want to look that up, the way we got the address was through Equestria Daily. We don't have a place to put these notes yet, so forgive us! Other things that are coming out are...
Also, they're re-releasing the DJ Pone 3s, if you have not picked those up yet, by Funko. Am I correct?
Correct.
And those are the BrodyCon exclusive, or the con exclusive ones, which are being re-released. So you should go check those out, maybe pick some up, because who doesn't like Final Scratch?
True, and plus there's the ones with the squashy crystals and the light-up base, isn't it?
Yes.
Speaking of Funko, there's some interesting announcements with them lately. They're doing a Celestia and Luna guaranteed sometime between Christmas and next Memorial Day.
Ooh.
Recently they released the Doctor Who Funko glow-in-the-dark figure. Pinkie Pie and Lyra Heartstrings are out. They're going to soon release Spitfire and Bon Bon, aka Sweetie Drops. And I think those are due out sometime in November. Speaking of September to November, just remember, they're doing the Equestria Girl doll figure set before Christmas. They have 2 different sets coming out. They have the Flash Sentry Twilight Sparkle that may or may not be a European exclusive. And they have the 5-girl hero set, which is coming out hopefully right before Hanukkah starts so the kids can get $1 a day.
I guess they're never going to separate that ship. But didn't there news that maybe Flash Sentry is not coming back next season?
Yeah, actually I did read that Megan McCarthy and Amy Larson weren't really happy with the idea of shipping Twilight so soon with the character. Although there actually is a bit of a ship going on in the comics, supposedly I think they said they were planning on letting Katie and the others between issue 15 and 16 actually write a Flash Sentry story that may explain his sudden absence in season 4.
Interesting. Well, we're probably going to have to look those up. Maybe we can do a review of those maybe in the future also.
I planned on it. Speaking of that, new merchandise that was also released last week was the new Pinkie Pie Goth figure. She's the Pinkie Pie with the pink and the black hair.
Which apparently happy goes with the black goth look.
Well, it is Pinkie Pie. She does break the fourth wall. It wouldn't surprise me on some level. After all, it's dead Pinkie Pool. Or is it dead Pinkie Pool? Pinkie Pool?
Pinkie Pool.
Pinkie Pool!
So yeah, she can do a lot of that stuff. Also, let's get out of the merchandise area and talk about the released footage of Season 4 that everyone's seen by now, but when that was released at the con. What are your thoughts on it? Good or bad?
I won't know till I see Season 4.
Alright, so it's something, for me, it's something to get hyped about because first, well, spoiler alert.
Hype!
Enter River Songs. Spoilers, dear. Spoilers. So, first off, we get a Scootaloo episode. I'm hyped about that. I mean, it does... For my analysis review, I don't think Scootaloo might have a gimp wing. It might actually be a point of her not being able to fly well yet and to develop that ability, because I think Diamond Tiara does not know about that, about her gimp wing, which I think might have been obvious already to every pony, or just being a young, silly foal. Then we got an Apple episode along with Pinkie, where we have that theory that maybe Pinkie's part of the Apple family. My theory is Pinkie's not part of the Apple family. Just maybe using being Apple kin is maybe spreading to friends also. Your friends you can choose to be your family also. Which sometimes a good friend in my life I can count as family. Then there's the Luna part, which we all pretty much figured out. It's not like a maybe it's not going to be Return to Nightmare Moon, but maybe a flashback and probably seeing what has transpired or something goes wrong with something with a spell and she has to fix it. But who knows? But we got a lot to look forward to Season 4, even with those little tidbits, and also the superhero theme, which is referencing the Powerpuff Girls, because they're the Power Ponies. We'll see how that works, because they never explored a city landscape for these ponies, ever. It seems like the pony society doesn't seem like it's an advanced society at all. Only parts that we've seen is Manhattan for a little bit when Applejack was going there to be with their aunt and uncle.
You know, why don't we break it down a little bit? Speaking of the first part of that animatic they just showed us all at BronyCon, or if you're unlucky enough to not go, you had to wait the next day to see it. The first thing about Scootaloo and the entire thing with her maybe being at the Equestrian Games, I think that's really interesting, and I'm anxious to actually see a Scootaloo episode where she finally talks about the fact that she can't fly. I personally have had this, I guess you could say theory. It's not really a theory. It's kind of like almost there. Ever since the Pony Confidential episode with Gabby Gums, where she could almost fly, but she was barely able to lift herself, I kind of assumed, and a lot of my friends have this whole theory that Pegasus Pony's magic is actually to fly because there's no way their wings could actually support their weight physically, but magically they could levitate. Not to mention walk on clouds and manipulate weather by like natural resource power. Mm-hmm. I wonder if it's the fact that maybe she's handicapped.
Maybe I kind of referred to that earlier. Maybe thinking maybe she's not handicapped, but that's also that point too. Maybe a point that we have to wait for season 4 for the writers to explain.
And you know, one thing about that, personally, I would find it very interesting if they were to bring Ditsy Doo, aka Derpy Hooves, into the story to get past a handicap.
That would be really cool, but after all the butthurt from the parents of children about the whole Ditsy Doo Derpy incident, and Derpy had to take a long vacation until she reappears in season 4 and just in the background. So she might just only be a background pony, just that, and maybe nothing more, but maybe they do have that plan for her, but we'll have to see. I mean, there's a lot of lawsuits and things parents look into for shows for kids, and sometimes they're overprotective, which seems to be the case. I mean, this is a show intended for little girls, even though they do fan service to us bronies. This is their actually targeted demographic.
Well, I think they've actually changed part of their demographic and aimed at boys too lately. But besides that, let's go on to the next part of the animation.
May I also one little part? Also, excitement of the return of the idea of Equestria Games. It wasn't an idea that left up in the air from the Crystal Empire part.
Good point.
So we got that to look forward to. Maybe that'll be a season finale ender, or maybe like in the middle, or maybe something to look forward to if they have a season 5. But who knows?
There is talk that if season 4 does well, there will be a season 5. Mae Larson tweeted it a couple weeks ago. It was not quite a direct hint. Anyway, getting back to the next part of the animatic they showed, the Apple song. You know, I agree with you on almost all parts, except for there's 2 theories out there with Pinkie Pie. One is that she's a distant cousin of Applejack because of her mother. Another theory is that maybe the apples are who took her in after she left the rock farm. Or maybe it's who she feels most comfortable with because they're a farm and she grew up on a farm. We don't really see much of her parents. It would be great to actually see her parents. Maybe the whole reason they're traveling is to meet her parents. Who knows?
Maybe that is an interesting theory, and that's what the show's for too. And hopefully maybe we get to see that. Maybe going along like how she like grew them as a family, also as friends also. But I also love that song that they put in there. It's almost as catchy for me as Raise the Barn.
Raise this barn, raise this barn, 1, 2, 3, 4. Come on, you can raise this barn, 1, 2,
musical
3,
stylings
4.
of Clockwork. But I liked it. Like, it was a little catchy, and then, like, Pinkie coming at the end, like, having her own little thing, like, you're more fun than the color pink.
Or blue in the sky.
Over your favorite drink.
Exactly. More musical from Lazy Chords, who will do a much better job, apparently.
Yeah, hopefully I'll try. Like, that was just, like, a little rush practice.
So, on the next part of the animation they showed was the superhero episode. Now, a lot of people gave this one some flack. I think it's either going to be a spell gone wrong, it's a dream that Spike has, or maybe, just maybe, something weirder. Who knows?
Maybe.
But I do actually want to point out that there are 5 references in the thing that point to a Lauren Faust kind of like signature. And the first one is obviously the city. The name, I'm not even going to give it away. Just go back and watch it because the name says the words Ville in it. The second thing, which is totally a thing on any of the superhero genre, the genre is definitely got the DC Comics in mind with the whole Flash-like look, the Batman look, the Wild Western look of Applejack, who looks kind of like a vigilante from one of the older DC comics, Fluttershy looking like Beast Boy in his early days. There are some hints. Another hint, and it's the biggest hint of all, is Spike. He looks like Robin. His outfit, even when not colored, he has that design, that whole little kid sidekick look.
Well, he is a sidekick pretty much since they named that episode just for sidekicks.
True, true. definitely the fourth hint is the sudden realization that they are superheroes, and then moving right into a plot line which shows Celestia, or maybe Trolestia, is the long-haired monster queen of whatever, who reminds me very much of a Powerpuff Girl villain named Sedusa.
That's a theory that might not be Celestia, though, but maybe it is.
Maybe, maybe not. The fourth part and the final part that everyone was like really confused about is the Twilight having either a future vision, a past vision, Nightmare Moon coming back, etc., etc. I personally think that it's a flashback. I think she's being taught what happened, and there is a theory, and actually it's not that much of a theory now that the comics have pretty much stated it, that the nightmare beings are going to be an actual canon creature. They take over ponies, griffins, and whoever else they can manipulate, giving them a little bit of dark power and making them kind of scary and twisting their personalities. With the way Luna's face looks in the animation where she looks shocked, surprised, and then suddenly overwhelmed with dark power, I'm going to say that's exactly what happened.
That makes sense. It seems like a lot of TV shows do sometimes go that route, because I remember from Digimon Tamers, Jerry had the darkest part of her come out pretty much and manifest itself there. And there's some other things that go along with that, which would be actually a pretty good route, like exploring each pony's darkness and hearts, maybe going through the main six and going through what they struggle with and what darkness they hold in their hearts. Because we have this pedestal, like they're pretty pure a lot of times and everything. Sure, they have their faults, but maybe they have a really major fault.
Like going crazy and...
Yeah. Like Pinky's biggest fault, she's a big time extrovert. She knows every pony by name, their birthdays, everything.
Except she doesn't know her own birthday, because she keeps forgetting about it. She doesn't actually keep in with her own existence half the time and must live through other people and has, well, quite a personality disorder there, because the second she thinks her friends doesn't like her anymore, much like me sometimes, she goes a little psycho and starts replacing people with radishes and bags of flour.
Yes, and just like probably coming in to like remind them, kind of like how Magic Miss Cure was. She reminded them, have them help each other to remind them what their true talents were and what they have, where they belong.
Yeah, well, that would be a great thing. Well, let's hop the train and segue into the next section, which is upcoming animations that we were looking into that are supposed to be finished soon. The biggest animation I saw lately was the prequel of the Minecraft / Button Mash / Sweetie Belle song. It's, I forget the person's name at the moment, I don't have the reference, so forgive me, people, but it's an awesome little animation that's supposed to be due by December. Button Mash Episode 2 is supposed to be due out in January, so that'd be nice to see Button Mash more often. There's also the Pony Creed Sister Hoof, which is supposed to be a 15-minute full episode of pony battles. Not to mention, the only other animation I'm aware of that's currently being worked on is the Twilight Wish, which I don't know much about. They only announced it recently through Equestria Daily.
Also, if you might want to look up the animatics for Lullaby Princess, because I was stunned by the animation of that, because I was planning on doing an animation for that song, but I realized I can't do the song justice as they did. It goes through the emotion of Celestia rising the moon and lowering the moon every day and thinking, her sister's gone now. It shows a little battle taking place and how like time progressed with Luna turning into Nightmare Moon.
Oh, and well, there's also the other animation that's worth looking into, which is the one with Celestia versus Sombra by Silly Philly Studios.
Oh yes, I recall that because I worked at camp this summer, and during one of my times off I did see that.
Not to mention Jan Animations is apparently doing something next year for Everfree Network, but they haven't revealed what that is. Oh, and there's also the Fallout Equestria trailer that's being worked on.
That'll be awesome. A lot of good things to look forward to. I'm surprised by this fandom, how much they give and everything. The music, the animations, the art. You can look through DeviantArt, everything, and there'll be like ponies everywhere. They do like such a great job every time, each one having their own style to their drawings, or there's music or animations, and just having a fun time. Usually a lot of fandoms don't do that, go this far. Put so much work into it, and creating social networking sites also. There's also different ones out there like Flankbook and other stuff, and BronyNet.
Actually, another thing that we might want to point out is this is kind of like a renaissance of creation. I honestly haven't seen this much of a fandom just explode with everything. I mean, short comics, I guess, the best way I can describe it is I haven't seen this kind of exclamation of joy since Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in the early 90s. When I was in school still, when I was like 10 to 15 years old, there was like a huge explosion of two different fandoms that happened that kind of died out. And I think had DeviantArt existed back then, it would just be flooded with turtle stuff. Because I think that was one of the bigger ones I remember. Another thing that came out that was really, really, really big were the Power Rangers, also known as Tokyo Sensei. They were huge when I was like between 15 and 20. And a lot of people did lots of animations. Like there are fan videos out there probably from the late 90s that still exist that use the Power Ranger motif. People did their own little mini shows because it was kind of cheap. I mean, it was based on the Japanese tokusatsu, which is just superhero. But aside from that, segueing back into Pony, I have never seen a fandom yet that could compare to this one. Not even anime, the furry fandom, the television show fandom, the comic book fandom. No. My Little Pony has more than 66 million hits. If you look on Google and look at the analytics, since 2010, it's just gone through the roof and has never stopped. In fact, you look at any other thing that people have looked at through the analytics, be it Sailor Moon, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Full Metal Alchemist, anything that was new, it went up for like 1 year and a half and then just dropped. No, My Little Pony went up and has stayed up. So maybe if the Brony fandom can evolve a little bit, it can stay up even when the show's gone.
Yeah, I mean, we're able to see that we're able to do like even our own animations now. Like Children of the Night, that was really crisp and well done. We've proven that also with different voice actors out there that we can rise to the occasion. Maybe create our own stories. Maybe not just with the main six, but other ponies that we create. Because we don't want to like take out the main six and like drag on that story. Like maybe, I don't know, it'll depend like where they end the series. Because if we're satisfied with that ending, which I feel like some people are going to be satisfied, some people not. Like, some people were satisfied with Twilight Corn, and some people were not.
You know, speaking of satisfied, since we still have a little time on this podcast, why don't we quickly talk about our favorite ponies and why?
Alright, should I go first?
Yes, you should.
Alright, my favorite ponies are Pinkie Pie, Applejack, and Big Mac. Big Mac first, because I like the non-speaking characters a lot, like Scrat from Ice Age. It seems like they have a lot more fun, and like the comical, yup. Plus, he's a really only male character besides Shining Armor to come in later into the MLP. Then there's Pinkie Pie. She's a happy extrovert. Maybe something I really wanted to be. And hopefully, like, reflecting on Lazy Chords because he tries to make friends wherever he goes. Which, I'm horrible with names, so I hope I can endow the pinkiness of that onto me. Then Applejack. She's a hard worker. Honest. She's like the more central person of the main six. When something goes wrong, Twilight kind of freaks out, but she's the leader a lot of times. But then Applejack's like telling everyone to calm down. Sure, I wish she had more crazy moments where like she does wrestle with the issue and not be like Flim Flam episode where she's like, I was right all along, I didn't learn a thing. Maybe have something more along the lines of her developing more as a character. What are your favorite ponies?
Well, my three favorite ponies actually are Pinkie Pie because, well, as you well know, and those who may find out later, I'm a bit of an extrovert myself sometimes, and I'm a little happy-go-lucky, and I definitely, when I have the energy, not 100% happy, but when I have the energy, I like to spread the joy.
That's what we love about you.
Second favorite pony is, and I know a lot of people are going to kill me for this, but I actually like Shining Armor. I like him because he's a stalwart, older brother type character. He, Andrew does a really good job with his voice, but he really exudes kingship. He exudes power, but he doesn't do it in like a bad way. He exudes love, but
a love for corn dogs.
It exudes a special kind of, I don't want to say manliness, but the only way I can describe it is he's not your typical prince character. He actually has this interesting, I'm just a regular guy, pony. I just walk around with all you all. We're good. Yep, I love Cadence to death. Yep, there's nothing wrong with it. Twiley! He has his moments, but he's definitely a calm, crisp character. Now, my third favorite, and I know people might get a little crazed out about this, my third favorite character is actually Apple Bloom. Apple Bloom has won my heart over, and I usually dislike children characters. But Apple Bloom's cute, adorable, and she kind of reminds me of me as a kid, because I went on a rampage trying to find who I was at one point, between the ages of like 15 and 20, and I did everything I could, including some crazy stuff like, hoboing, sky jumping in a big tube full of giant fans, bouncing, high diving, tried to hang glide once, which did not turn out too well because I found out I was afraid of heights, like really majorly afraid of heights. But other than that, I tried a lot of stuff before I realized that maybe just being me was enough. And while I didn't get my beautiful butt tattoo, I certainly didn't worry about trying too much of too often. But, I will try anything once in a while, and it's definitely fun. So how about we talk about least favorite characters?
Alright, well, pretty much a lot of people on BNet know this. I don't like Braybird. Yes, everyone's gonna say, but everyone's gay for Braybird. Haven't you seen that magnificent plot? I just don't like him because his perkiness kind of rubs me the wrong way. Because, sure, he's like fine-go-lucky and everything, but I don't know why. For some reason, deep down inside me, something just sets me off. Even though I love a character like Pinky, who is like perfect and goes off the wall a lot. That's pretty much it for least favorite characters besides... Well, there's that little bit part of me that doesn't like Shining Armor because he's almost like a cop-out for toys and everything also. I mean, sure, he does have his great points of loving that Clockwork had said, and he brought some great points about Shining Armor. Sure, he's loving a Big Brother role, but we never really hear about him until Canterlot Wedding. You know that Big Brother he probably always rambles on about?
Okay. We'll cover that in a future episode. My least favorite character, and I know some people aren't going to like what I'm about to say, so bear with me here. My least favorite character is Rainbow Dash. Now, I know a lot of people are upset already. They're already turning out. They're like, oh my god, you hate Rainbow Dash. Well, I don't hate her. I just don't actually like her because she's such a show-off. And she rubbed me okay, I've grown on her, I will admit. The character's not as bad as I thought she was at first. But the first 3 episodes I saw her in, she was just a show-off. And until Griffin the Brush-Off happened, I really, really despised her character. And I kind of like, oh god, here's the tomboy character that I don't even like, because I never liked tomboy girls that have no personality. Granted, she's grown on me. She's definitely more three-dimensional than she first was. She still has that whole I am the most awesomest thing. And after Ne'er-Do-Well, and I know a lot of people hate that episode, she did get taken down a few pegs and realize that maybe it's okay to be just yourself and accept an award here and there, but not take it to extremes, trying to be everyone's hero, while also trying to be everyone's shining, beautiful, whatever goddess of athleticism. Only thing that a lot of people constantly irate about is that silly little thing that happened with her in Equestria Girls, where it wasn't the right Rainbow Dash. And you're right, it wasn't. It's an alternative world, people. But that version of Rainbow Dash was probably a little cooler. In fact, I'd almost say 20% cooler.
You didn't like her during the whole Wonderbolts Academy where she actually stood up for her friends?
But that's after Griffin the Brush-Off. Before.
Right.
I still kind of like her, but she's my least favorite. I didn't say the one I hated. If we go into hated characters, I'm going to honestly say the one I hated the most was Sombra for having 0 personality.
Yeah, that's true there. Sombra did have a little personality, but I love him also at the same time because he's actually one of the true villains. Sure, Chrysalis feeds on love. Well, she was poor playing. We'll get into that maybe another review later. And Discord, he's just a funny, chaotic villain. But Sombra, he's actually the true villain. That the Crystal Ponies were scared of him. They were scared, like, really deep down, and they would try to oppress their memories, or Sombra did a memory spell, but also it was something they did not want to remember. It was a dark time in their lives. They were enslaved. But yes, I can see some points of why you don't like Sombra, because he had little bits to do. I mean, he only, came in, said, crystal ponies, and there's always that joke that he likes a lot of stairs. But Sombra, I wish they could bring him back, even though they said Sombra is dead. I wish some hope inside me wants him to be alive and come back and actually be a fully developed villain.
I think a lot of people want that. Now, I do have one other point out before we end our first episode here. How about background pony? A lot of people have background ponies they like, and of course there's that whole, all the fans have given 3 of the most interesting characters, the most interesting backstories. How about we just do a quick one-up of Lyra, Final Scratch, and Berry Punch?
Alrighty, so Lyra. I like her a lot because, there's it's kind of funny how they make the whole joke hands and everything. She loves human, and they had a whole song, Anthropology. And that was pretty funny too, which I thought the fans really rolled with that. DJ Ponty, awesome character, love music, so she's one of my favorites, along with Tabby, which is great. DJ Ponty, or / Final Scratch, laid back, chill character, which we kind of see through fan animations, which you've seen. I'm Octavia, she had an animation there, and the whole recent one where the Sunrise dishwasher, where she washes dishes with wubs, which is awesome. Then there's Berry Punch. I really don't know that much about Berry Punch. I'm sorry, so I can't really say anything about her. But maybe after this podcast, I'll look more up about her, and maybe I can give you guys feedback later.
Well, as for Lyra, I don't understand the human joke. I mean, I know there was the one time she had the foam hand, and I kind of understand why people think that maybe she was from the Equestria Girls world and she popped into Ponyland. That's been the ongoing joke ever since Equestria Girls was released.
There's that joke that you missed out on going to the other world, too.
Yeah, the reverse joke, because there is no Lyra actually shown there, so everyone kind of thinks that maybe she and Sunset Shimmer are the same character from different universes and fan fiction for some odd reason. You know, DJ Pone 3, a.k.a. Vinyl Scratch, has the bass cannon, and she's voiced by one of the most awesome fan voicers out there. Maybe we can get her on the show sometime soon. Plus, if anyone has seen it, the Wub Dishwasher episode, yeah, it is awesomeness. Now, Berry Punch, most people don't know about her because she doesn't have many animations made about her. There's 2 jokes that are ongoing. One joke is that she's a lush, a.k.a. she drinks a lot of wine. Hence her
I
cutie
remember that
mark.
comic.
Everyone knows that comic. Well, Berry Punch also has another story that's part of the Lyra Heartstrings fan fiction / fan comic, that she takes care of Derpy Who's and her daughter Ditzy, and that she's sort of like a stepsister, which is interesting because there is a little bit of niche. If anyone remembers the Sisterhood Social episode, where
Yes.
Rarity and Applebloom, or Applejack and
Sweetie
Belle and Rarity and Applebloom do the whole sister makeup love thing. Well, if anyone noticed, it's Ditzy Doo's daughter and Berry Punch running together in the background. So that's where the fan pandering may be happening. I know that everyone hates the word fan pander, but that's really what it was. You have to admit, if it wasn't for the fans, it wouldn't have been in there.
True, but we never had a full canon that's Ditzy Doo's daughter, or Derpy. I like to call her Derpy by chance. Like, I know they called her recently Bubbles. Yes.
I'm sorry, she's Derpy because that's how I was introduced to her. That's what everyone called her when I first got into the fandom, until I watched the episode where she was voiced horribly by the 12-year-old boy voice, which they took away, although there are some fan animations out there that put the Derpy voice back in. I don't know, Berry Punch just should get more love. Now, there are other characters we could talk about, but we don't have enough time. So, as a good send-out, this is Clockwork and
Lazy Chords.
telling you, have a hoof up and brony on.